really quickly. I'm Janine Perez. I'm the director of the Student Success Center here in the College of Education. This is what it looks like behind me. This is all a facade, though. Hopefully, in the fall, you'll be able to visit the center in some capacity. I'm really excited to have students come back to campus and be able to be with one another in this space. And as part of the Student Success Center, we have a group of students, student ambassadors that lead different projects and really just inform the work that we do, really making sure that it's student-centered, that it's student-led, that we're meeting the needs of students and that the areas that maybe there's a gap that we can kind of support that student-led activity. And that is where Danny comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Danny and have a wonderful session.
Thanks, Janine. So hi, everyone. I think all of you know me, but thank you so much for coming. This was really an event that came up because like now, I think a lot of us are approaching the time where we get to decide whether we're going to apply for grad school or pursue a different direction. And I know that both Melissa and Iris have faced this challenge too, and have found, careers that were super fulfilling to them and that they love. So I'm hoping that today will be a time where we get to hear about that and, potentially see what directions we can go into with this foundation of learning about communication disorders and sciences. So I'll start by introducing. So here's Melissa. She's a bilingual teacher. She teaches the 3rd grade right now, and she's almost done with her admin credential. This is Iris. She's a special education teacher. We are so thrilled to have her. So I'll go ahead and ask both of you, and you can take turns answering if you like. Just what was your journey like coming to SJSU, going through the CDS program, and just anything you're willing to share with us?
Iris, do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So hi, everyone. It's so nice to meet everyone. And I'm so happy that you guys have the opportunity to do something like this, because I know that I definitely didn't get this when I was attending San Jose State. So I'm originally from LA. And so I was born and raised in LA. And then I came to San Jose State for my undergrad, started off as a undeclared, but always knew I wanted to do speech therapy. I grew up with my mom being a caregiver to a woman who has cerebral palsy, and she's still living with her. Her name's Laura, and she's basically like my second sister, or I guess my only sister. And so Laura uses her, what's that device called again? The
AAC.
AAC device. There you go. And so since I was a kid, I was always interested in that. So I knew I wanted to do speech therapy of some form. And got into the program, took the classes probably with the same professors that you guys are taking them with. And then, I guess that'll be the next question, like what we're doing now. But so the plan was to be speech therapist, and then it didn't happen, but I'm happy with what did come out of it. So, Iris?
All right, I guess it's my turn. I'm like, hello. So I'm Iris. I grew up here in the Bay Area, so San Jose. What got me into the field was when I was in high school, because I grew up with my sister who also has cerebral palsy, and I was just introduced to the world of special education very young. And I remember being so fascinated with her speech therapist and being like, wow, like, I love what you do. I love your enthusiasm and how you work with these kids. Like, I just want to shadow you. So I shadowed him all of my 4 years in high school, and I absolutely fell in love with it because I wanted to work with speech. It's definitely one of my strongest suits. So I wanted people to always be able to express themselves in one form or way with speech, because I saw that with my sister and how much she struggled along with her peers. So I went in with San Jose State knowing that that's exactly what I was going to go to. That was already assigned as a speech therapist. And so I went along with that route, being super confident that that's the way I was going to go. And that was the only way. But along my way, I also found other loves, like my minor in special education and minor in Mexican American studies. And I wanted to infuse it all of it into our, the speech world, right? Especially with our students of color. I feel like that was so, so important. So that's what I wanted to do. But life happens in a different way because it redirects us all, I believe, and it does it for a reason. And so when I applied to all of the schools, I got waitlisted. And of course, that was very disappointing. And I was really sad, but I put my faith in universe and God, you know, in whatever you guys want to believe in. And it took me to special ed. And honestly, it's been a journey. It's given me the skills that I have. It's made me become a better leader, a better learner, because again, you always learn something along the way. And I'm happy with the journey that I'm at, because I feel like even if it didn't go the way I wanted it to, I'm still very successful at what I do. And I bring a lot of skills, and I'm confident with that. So I know you guys are all probably feeling the same way, scared of the unknown, and that's scary. But I want you guys to all know that the unknown is beautiful, and you guys are going to learn so much more about yourselves, because you're gonna find your path, and I promise you that. So I just wanted to end it with that.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing those words. I feel like that's very reassuring, probably to a lot of us right now, because in the midst of not just, you know, coming to terms with having to figure out how we're going to choose our next step, but also navigating the pandemic, even though we're hopefully at the tail end of it. But it's very reassuring to kind of know, like, you know, we might not know what's coming up, but whatever's coming, it will be great. All right, so I'm kind of curious, what inspires you to work in the field that you're currently working in? How did you find the right fit for your values and your interests?
So I got into teaching almost by accident. Like Iris, I had applied to a ton, I think it was like 5 graduate programs, right? At my 4th year at San Jose State, and didn't get into anything, was feeling real sad, real depressed, world's gonna end. And there was a charter school, local charter school in San Jose that was looking for assistant teaching positions, bilingual. And so I'm like, sure, let's try that out. How hard can it be? It's bilingual, I'm bilingual, like piece of cake, right? And so I went into it thinking that that was going to be just like a 1-year kind of a deal. But like Iris said, like the universe had its own plan for me. And so what ended up happening for me was, so I was assigned the assistant principal or the assistant teacher position. And by chance, I had gotten my substitute teaching credential, because it's at the time, I don't know how it is now, it was real easy to get. All you needed to do was to pass your CBES, which is super easy coming out of the CDS department. And so I went ahead and did that. And the first day, so I was assigned to a kindergarten class. The first day of class, the main teacher doesn't show up. And so the principal comes in and she's like, well, you technically have your sub credential, so you can sub today, like, go ahead and do that. And so we tried it out with kindergartners. And then day after day, the teacher just wasn't showing up. And so the principal asked if I wanted to take lead teacher, and they put me on an emergency teaching credential. Mind you, in like the speech program, like they don't show you how to like read or phonics. They don't teach you any of that, because we're not meant to be teachers. And so they threw me at the deep end of the pool, and I figured it out, but absolutely loved it. I loved just the Spanish component of it. I know as a kid, I grew up being real embarrassed of Spanish, being embarrassed of like having the brown hair and not being blonde and beautiful. And so it was just real empowering for me to go into this classroom with little kids that looked like me and empower them for the way that they looked like and what they spoke and the language that they were learning. And I've been stuck with it ever since. So now I'm doing 3rd grade still with Spanish, and I love it. I don't see myself ever going back to speech therapy, even though I tried applying again and still wasn't getting in. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to drop it. And I pursued my teaching master's degree, and I've been doing that ever since. And so I think some next steps for me are just taking on more leadership roles. One of the things that I learned in this speech program was that as speech therapists, you have to advocate for your students, because a lot of the times, or your clients, a lot of the times they verbally cannot communicate. And so I took that with me. And so I want to do some more leadership and potentially be a principal and just more advocacy for our kiddos. Iris, you're going to go first next time.
I know. No, I loved it. I mean, our journeys are so similar. I'm over here clapping because it's beautiful. Because I believe in the same. I think a lot of what you guys are going to hear is very similar. So the way I got into my profession was just like all of you guys. You're probably thinking, I need a job. at least for me, coming from a family who, there's money scarcity going on there, it's low income. So I was like, I need a job. That's the next step, right? I'm like, I need a job. So I found this job at Voices Academy, which is also a charter school that decided to take me in as part of the special education team there. And so I thought, well, let's do it. I can do this, while I also applied for my credential program through the county office in Santa Clara. So I went in already knowing that I was pursuing my education on that. So I was like, what better way to kind of get to know the ropes? So at that time, I was working with a diverse group. So it was from kinder through 8th grade. I specifically worked on IEP goals, as you guys will be familiar with that if you do decide to still pursue speech. It's a big component. And so working with students and teaching them also about how to advocate for their own, skills and for advocating just their own rights, that's something that allowed me to be strong about it. So I finished up my credentials, went for my master's in special education, and I've been teaching now for the past 5 years. So my first teaching job was with my middle schoolers, and I love middle school. It will always have my heart. Then I went to high school, and I'm currently now at post-secondary. And so for some of you guys, post-secondary is when your students who are in special education, more of the moderate to severe populations, they have a program called post-secondary. Think of it as a community college for them, but we're teaching them life skills and being out to the community and getting them jobs. And that goes from 18 to 22. So that's what I currently do right now. My babies are all 19. So we're just kind of working on all those functional skills. But I think just like how Melissa is talking to you guys about it, I've learned so much, because you guys will learn depending on what situations you're at, that there is a lot of injustice as much as you want to bring out the best in the world. And so I thought, well, what are better ways to do that than become my own leader? So finishing up this year and trying to pursue other different routes in my career to grow and to just become a leader and to, just promote the advocacy skills for our students and for our communities, because I'm big on giving back. I think everybody deserves to speak up and live their truth. So that's where I'm at currently. And that's how I got into my job.
Yes, I cannot agree more. Advocacy is just so essential, and it's a big passion of mine. I love that you both are so passionate about it. And yes, I love that you're also interested in leadership roles. I know Melissa and we worked together before, and we were on the instructional leadership team. So I'm so excited to see how you guys continue to pursue your interests and your passions, and how that's going to shape the people that you become. So let me see, what's another question I can ask you? What experiences were meaningful to you in your studies? How did that impact the career choices you've made since then?
No, Melissa's like, go first, Iris. I see you. Wow. I think everything. If you really put yourself to reflect on the littlest of things, because I'm a big reflector, when I think back to my undergrad, there were so many signs, guys, and read the signs around you. Don't overpass them. I think your signs, the people you meet, the professors I met, even if it was such a simple conversation, those skills are what has led me to be able to show that and contribute that to my team, right? So basic knowledge of sharing, of like basic conversations with my professors, getting those simple jobs at retail and simple jobs at the psychology department, because I worked there at San Jose State. I learned so much from all those people that I honestly feel like that's where I got my skills. And from the teachings that I got in the classrooms, I felt that, I learned a lot. And I think the speech program was great and the practicums were great. But I think a lot of my lessons came from outside of the classroom, to be quite honest with you. It was not in the class. I retained all the information. It's great to know all of it. But the moment that you apply it and you learn it from your clients and the students you work with and the people you work with, that's how you'll know your strengths. Even when you think about it when you're with your friends, what are some of the biggest skills that you have with your friends? Are you a great listener? Are you a leader? Are you empathetic? Are you creative? Right? Your skills are already embedded. So I feel like the moment you reflect on that, it's going to lead you to success with your work, and it's just going to amplify it more. So that's my response to that.
Yeah, I think you wrapped it up perfectly, Iris. I think just like a big takeaway was networking. So like Iris was saying, like all the people that you meet right now, all of your colleagues or classmates or professors, like try somehow to keep in touch with them, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, like whatever your platform is, try and like stick with them, because you never know when they're going to come right back around, right? So like Iris, for example, I was in class with her and we started off working at the same school, and then we kind of like separated paths, but like we always find a way to like cross our paths again. And so, and it just happens. I think being at San Jose State is another time for you to even just experiment, like try things that you typically wouldn't do. So for example, when I was still like trying to figure out what major I was going to do, I was working in the anthropology department as just like a student assistant, and realized it was super fascinating, really cool, but absolutely hated it and would never want to be an anthropologist. And so, I mean, it took me a semester to figure that out, but at least I was working and like making some sort of money, but like stepping out of my comfort zone. And that's the time to do it. Like no one's going to remember like what you did. So yeah, so definitely stepping out of your comfort zone and just networking. I think that's one of the things I've also told Dani, like if you see someone's throwing like a social, like just go and like network, try to meet people, try to join clubs. If you end up living in the dorms, like I know that there's a bunch of different communities in the dorms as well. So just putting yourself out there, because this is the time to do it. And it's only going to get harder when you leave San Jose State.
Yes, thank you both for sharing. I agree that when you have the opportunity, and obviously in this pandemic, it's not necessarily like the same way that it was before. We kind of have to figure out our own way to do it. But from my personal experience, the things that I've been able to do outside of the classroom have been just as meaningful as what I've been learning inside of the classrooms, and conversations with professors outside of class, just like it's the best because you get to ask them whatever questions you want and they can explain it all in depth to you. So those are definitely some resources I would take advantage of.
Well, and to add to that a little bit, Dani, I have a friend who's also who's like taking online classes right now at San Jose State. And he was telling me that a lot of people aren't like participating in class. And so he takes this time to like, okay, fine, no one's going to participate. I'm going to participate. And he's normally like a real quiet person, but he's like, it's a computer. And so he's always the one participating. And he says that like time and time again, he like won't pass a test, but because he like knows the professor, they'll just like bump him up a grade. So I think like, yes, this pandemic sucks because you're not in person, but it's also a time for you to like capitalize on getting to know people because we all are looking for that social aspect. So why not?
Yeah,
I hope that's what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, and just to piggyback on that, right? Just again, the networking and stuff, but I also think that the inner work right now, you guys should take advantage of that. This pandemic does suck. There's a lot of things that have been very unfortunate, but there's a lot of blessings that come out of it as well. So if you're doing that inner work, if you are looking within and seeing again what type of skills to get better at, comfort zones, take advantage of it. It's a beautiful time to do that because again, you have to be creative. You got to push yourself out of that comfort zone because there are going to be times that things are not always going to be in flow, but you got to create the flow. So work on that inner work. And as Melissa's mentioned, network, get out of that comfort zone. But it really starts with you. So I want to emphasize that a lot. The work starts with you guys.
Thank you. I love that. That's going to be my new mantra, create the flow. Yes, thank you for adding that insight. Yeah, I think getting out of your comfort zone is so valuable, and you can find creative ways to do that in the pandemic for sure. But I think it's important to definitely point that out. So for those of you that might have come a little bit after we began, I'm facilitating the questions for today for our panelists, but you are totally welcome to unmute and ask a question or just put it in the chat and I'll read it aloud for you if there's anything that you want to learn about Melissa and Iris. Okay, so do you have any tips or advice for students as they prepare for their senior year? What was the kind of things that you were looking into in your senior year that helped you?
I mean, you can go. Oh, go ahead, Melissa. Did you want to go? Okay. I'm trying to think back to my senior year, guys. I feel like it was just yesterday. I'm just kidding. But honestly, it's good to stay organized. I'm a big organization person, so I always get my notebook and check to see what classes are online. I know you guys have to apply for graduation, so make sure that you have those deadlines down in key, right? Do it the sooner the better, because again, those paperworks, you guys, it sucks. Make sure you have copies of it, because I know that back in the days with us, at least, we need to make sure that we had that copy, because paperwork does get lost. And you just want to make sure you have it just in case, because we saw, at least in my end, we saw a couple of our friends who struggled at the end because they were like, wait, I turned this in, but then something happened and they were maybe not about to, graduate or, cross the stage. So make sure that you have all that paperwork in line. Make sure that the deadlines are on your calendars, whether it's on your phone, a physical journal, whatever you have, right? Make sure that you have that ready to go. And in regards to planning for the future, I think it's beautiful to plan, because I'm a planner. I am. And it just depends on your goals, I think, right? I think we're all very different, because when I remember being a senior, I was like, all right, I want to make sure that I pass my classes, right? That's the basics, short-term goal that I want. My classes are passing. I've turned in the paperwork that I need. I'm getting my cap and gown. I know the dates of when I have to do all that. And then what comes next, right? Because a lot of you guys are thinking of grad school, and then you're thinking of work. So kind of don't put so much pressure. Just do the basics, take the baby steps of what you need. And then at the end, worry about the bigger picture. Because again, your routes will go different. It will change, and that's okay. I wish someone would have told me that at the time, because I was planning out everything. I was like, oh, well, I'll get accepted to this school. This is what I'm going to be doing. And that overwhelmed me. So I want you guys to take a step back and just take the baby steps of like, oh, if I know I need to turn in this paper work, do that. Oh, I need to pass that class, do that. And enjoy the process, you guys. I think I wish I would have had someone tell me that. Enjoy the process, enjoy that last semester, that last year as a senior, and your life, your job, the graduate school applications coming in. Let it come when it needs to. But for everything else, just take your baby steps, because I think I would have, if I could do everything over again, I think that's the one thing I would have done differently. And I wish someone would have told me that, to just enjoy the process of everything, the bigger picture, but enjoy the fact that you're so close to the finish line. Reflect on how much you've accomplished, right? And just kick ass in that last year. Enjoy it, have fun with it, enjoy your classmates, enjoy your friends in that, enjoy your success, but take baby steps. Do what you need to do and avoid all that unnecessary stress. Even if your other classmates are doing it, just be like, you know what? Let me step away just for a little bit, because I don't need that right now. This is what I need to do. I turned in my papers. I have good grades right now. I did everything that I needed to do now. So focus on the now. The rest will come later. I promise. It will all come in place.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Iris. I wish someone had told me just take a chill pill, just let your path take its course. I think another thing I would add to that, something a little more concrete, and it goes back to what we were saying about stepping out of your comfort zone. I wish, so for example, at the time I was doing different things around campus, I was a resident advisor in the dorms. I had a job. I think I was in academic advising at some point. So I was very involved on campus, but because I wanted to do all the socialization stuff and the networking, but I kind of lost track of my end goal, which was to be a speech therapist. So I feel like I could have observed more therapists, and that's something that I didn't get a chance to do. So if I were to have gone back, if you find yourself having an extra hour in your week, find someone to observe. If you need help, let me know. I know a couple of speech therapists in our district. I'm sure that they'd be more than happy to welcome you in. Or literally there's an elementary school across the street from San Jose State. Just go and knock on their door, and I'm sure they're gonna say yes. So do get some more observation in, and even find a job within the same realm. I know a couple girls At the time, we're doing like ABA therapy. So they're doing more like focused things. And that kind of, I believe, is what led them to like be successful in the speech therapy world, which is something I didn't do. And I feel like I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. Not to say that I regret it, because I absolutely love what I'm doing now. But I think that's something that could support you all. Or I know that there was another girl in our cohort who, like, she was still questioning whether or not she wanted to do speech therapy, and she like got a job in a completely different field. I think it was like tech or something, just to see if that's what she liked. So take this time again to just really try different things. And I think the best way to do that is either observing or getting different jobs. But definitely taking it slow, like Ira said, and just when graduation comes back, like just sit and just watch everything happen, because it's going to go by real quick.
Yes, I agree. I feel like senior year is coming so fast, and it's crazy. Most of us haven't even met in person. So definitely something we're looking forward to, a new year, new leadership with our student organization. So lots of exciting things to look forward to. And also keeping track of the paperwork is going to be super helpful. We have an advising appointment tomorrow, and I think on Tuesday as well. So we will definitely bring those questions with us as well. So another question I had was, what inspires you to stay in your field? How did you find like the thing that brings you satisfaction and fulfillment from your specific path?
I can give Iris a break. So what brings satisfaction? One of the things that San Jose State, just as a school, does is they really promote advocacy and like creating advocates within each of us, right? And so that's something that I've taken with me. That's something that drives me. And just one of my morals really is to just like give back to my community, give back to mi gente. And so, right, so my people, and that's what drives me, and that's what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me in this community. So I would really recommend that you all like take some time and figure out what it is that drives you. Like, is it giving back to your community? If that's what it is, then you know you're not going to make a lot of money, but it's going to bring you passion. Or maybe money is your passion, and try and figure out like teaching won't be where the money's at. So definitely sit with yourself and figure out where your passions and how they align. Because they say, there's that phrase like, oh, if you have like your dream job, you're never going to work a day in your life. That's not completely true. I still work. I work real hard, and sometimes I hate my job. So definitely find something that you do like, so that then at least you wake up and you go back to it.
I love that. I love that you said that, because that is so true, you guys. You have to go in with what brings you joy, right? You have, again, it goes back to that inner work. So if you haven't done that yet and you feel like, I don't even know what I like, that's okay, right? Take a deep breath. Just, you already know it's within you, right? But you have to reflect and ask yourself, just like Melissa said, find that joy and alignment and bring it to your job. Right? As a special education teacher, I wear so many hats, you guys. It's not even funny. Sometimes I play therapist, right? I do speech work. I do so many things that sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I have to bring that joy back, right? What are the teachings that I'm going to bring? I love talking about just, life in general, and being like, what drives you? What's your spark? What is this, right? That is what I bring into my job, especially now that I'm working with young adults, right? That's something that we want to bring into alignment. Or advocacy. I'm big on advocacy. I'm very silly. So how can I bring some laughter and joy into my job? Because I do work with these kids for 6 to 8 hours. So how do I get them up and excited? Because I'm a very silly person. I really am. So how do I bring all of that together? And what brings me joy, right? And that's how I also reflect on that. And so that's what brings me sanity. That's what makes me feel good when I go home. And also seeing the growth that I see with my students when they retain, or whoever I come in contact, right, at work, they retain whatever message I wanted to give. That's amazing, because I'm all about speaking your truth and just being a leader. So I think that's very important. Just finding that joy and aligning it. That's how you will feel truly satisfied, truly passionate, truly driven, and just checking in with yourself, because that is also going to change. Maybe one day it's not going to be oh my gosh, I want to teach all day long, right? Like, no, your passion will change over time as well. So, and that's okay too. So as you reflect and as you're going through this, program, because I know for me, that's what happened, right? I had those doubts of like, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? Like, do I want to work just one-to-one, or do I like being in a whole group? Or do I want to just work with 60 plus students in a case? Or do I want to just work with 13? Or do I want to be silly? Or do I really want to be serious? Do I like math or do I not like math, right? These are good questions to ask yourself right now. You guys are in this beautiful stage of experimenting. And I think that's amazing. Take advantage of it. But just know that that's exactly what Melissa said. Just find that joy and align it to work. And that's going to fill you so much with joy. So I think that's just piggyback on what she said. So hope that helps you guys. Because I think that's, if you guys don't take anything away, take that away. Okay? Find your joy, your spark, your dharma, whatever it is out there, your why, right? What's your why? What do you want to bring out in the community? What do you want to show this world, right? And don't be intimidated by your skills, because you are unique. You will show it very differently. You will attract your audience. So remember your why. That will bring you joy, and just connect it to what you want to do with work. Take that away, guys. So I think that's the most important thing to take away today, I feel.
I just love the advice that we're getting from both of you today. This is all super helpful. And yeah, I think we are kind of at a special stage of like being able to kind of explore more of our options and see like, what is really the best fit for us. And I like that you kind of turn the focus on, not about just preparation, but what are your skills and what is your passion and what brings you joy? What's your why? I feel like these are all things that are going to be super helpful to us as we figure out what our next steps are going to be going into our senior year. So my next question is, what was helpful?
Wait, hold on, Nani, before your next question, I just want to give everyone else an opportunity to ask questions. And being a teacher, I'll give you some think time, because it technically takes 3 seconds for you to come up with a question. Okay, I guess there are no other questions. Take it away, Nani.
Yeah, no worries. And you guys are welcome to jump in if you want to say something or ask a question or anything you want. All right. What was helpful to you when you were applying for graduate programs and for jobs?
I think it goes back to reflecting on who you guys are, right? What is your niche? What environments do you thrive at? So I remember looking into mini master, programs and thinking like, I honestly, guys, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I wanted LA. I don't know what it was about LA, but I was like, I thrive in LA. Get me to LA. I want to be there. It's a vibe. It's my flow. I want to be there. It's just where I would feel like I thrive. Feel it out, right? Look at the information that the program has. Do they align with your mission? Do they align with your values? If they do, that's the one, right? That is like the one you want to go for. It's kind of like a relationship, right? You don't just jump in and go, wow, you are so hot. Let me just go for you because you're perfect. But you got to go deeper. You got to investigate and go, okay, well, let's go on a date. Let's see if we flow. Do we connect? Oh no, never mind. Next. It's the same thing with anything you do with work and whatever programs you decide to go to. Same with interviews. When you go out to the real world and start working for these people, don't settle, okay? You have so many skills to provide. Even if you're a student, you volunteered, you've done these programs, you have these practicums, feel it out. Ask these questions. Ask them what their whys are. What is your mission? If you guys align in that, you will thrive in the environment. But if you feel something, which we all know, that inner voice, that whisper, that intuition, and it doesn't feel right, don't go with it, right? But just like with everything, or if you're buying a house or you're buying a car, make sure you read the fine details, ask questions, do not be shy. You have every right. You're young, yes, but you ain't dumb, okay? So ask questions, investigate, ask other people. Like, for example, maybe if it's a program that your friend's currently in, ask them and be real. Ask them, hey, how much time are you dedicating with this work? Is it really heavy? Are the teachers kind to you? Right? You also want that, because if your professors are not receptive or giving you that feedback that you need, it is not going to motivate you. So you need to find good mentors and investigate those mentors, email those mentors, be like, hey, I'll get you a cafecito. Like, let's talk a little bit about your program and what, what it has to offer. Does it align with me? So ask the questions, guys, right? Again, just like you wouldn't jump into a crazy relationship, it's the same with work, it's the same with all of that. So make sure that it aligns with you and who you are, right? I know it sounds kind of cheesy and corny. You guys are probably like, this girl's crazy. Like, what the heck? But I promise you, the right job, the right program will come. Do not settle for less. It will come.
Yeah, and I think just to top off, Iris is crazy. One of the things that I did, just because I think the I don't know, speech therapy, that major attracts very control freaks and like super detailed oriented people. So one of the things that I had done was I had made an Excel sheet and like looked up all the schools that had speech therapy, because in California there aren't very many. Well, there's a few, but like it's less than 10. You can easily put that into an Excel sheet. And I just went highlighting after that, like, okay, well, like San Marcos University was one of the ones that aligned with me. And so like I'd highlight it. I looked at their mission and vision, made sure that it's something that I liked. Oops, sorry, my dog's freaking out. And even then I found schools in like out of state that I was just like, no, like I really don't want to move out of state. I'm not going to apply or even bother going there. And so like Ira said, I was looking, I mean, you have to look for something that attracts you and that, you're going to, because you're going to be there for at the bare minimum 2 years completing the program. And then who knows, you might end up finding a job there and staying there long term. So just making sure that it's something that you do like. And staying organized though. I think that was a big, you'll find different applications. Some want 2 reg letters, some want 3, some want an interview, some want X, Y, and Z. Like it gets you dizzy. So start making your Excel sheets, color coordinate it, have fun. But do your research, So do your research, go on a date with it, and figure out which school is the one that fits you best.
Yes, I totally agree. And I cannot emphasize enough how important the culture of your workspace or your university is going to influence your life. If it's not the right culture, if it's not the right energy, like it's almost not worth it. You might as well not have a job. So definitely like don't shy back from like asking questions and, kind of looking around and seeing what other people have said about working there. Like if you hear great things, then you'll know like that's the right place and that's a good place. And if you hear bad things, just run the other direction. Yeah. Thank you for both of you for sharing that. And I love that something that I noticed from both of you is that you're so empowering. And I know like personally from my friendship with Melissa, super empowering individual. I'm kind of curious, what empowers you now that you're working, like friends, family, coworkers, and how do you use that to empower your students?
Go, Iris, go. Okay. What empowers me? That's a good question, Danny. You should have sent us these ahead of time. I just feel like all the inequalities and the inequities that we live is really what empowers me. Like something that just fuels me is knowing that Mark Zuckerberg lives 30 minutes away from where I do, right? He's like the top 10 billionaire in the planet. But then Cesar Chavez also lived right around the corner from where I did. Like, how the heck do these 2 people from like 2 completely different worlds live so close to each other, and they're both fighting for different things? So stuff like that is what empowers me right now. Just the school that I'm at, like there's so many inequities with our students, with our bilingual kids. And so my drive is really making sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure that they're successful. And every day is different. Some days I do more, some days I don't do so much, and that's okay. And But that's still what drives me and gets me up is making sure that the future for these kids, or you might be working with elderly, right? Like, so the elderly, it's the same thing. So making sure that the rest of the life that they do have, that it's empowered, that it's successful, that they're going to succeed. And so that's really what drives me.
Love that. Love that. Mine, you guys, what empowers me, it's been motivational speakers. I love people that share their knowledge, their experiences, the authenticity. That is what drives me, because that is what I feel my life purpose is living your life in authenticity. And when I see people, whether it's on the gram or on my podcast or reading a book, because I'm all about self-growth and just learning the inner ways and wisdoms of life, I feel like it fuels me. I want to share that with others. I want others to experience that. And so that's what empowers me. And that's what gives me the messages to give to you guys, right? Based on who we are and where you guys are at, and reflecting back to who I was when I was your guys's spots. You know, I'm taking it all in and being like, this is the energy that needs to be, and this is the information that you guys need to know. And that's what empowers me, right? Just knowing about those experiences and being able to pass that on to my students, right? Whether you're ready to receive the information or not, that's okay, right? But one day you will be able to understand and go, that's what that crazy lady was talking about. That's what she was trying to tell me, and I wasn't ready. And that's okay, right? But that's what fuels me. That's what empowers me, to see people who go through the struggle and then make it and are living their best life. And not because they have the money, you guys. That's not what it is. It's by living your truth and by being who you are and going out to this world and shining. And whether it's rocking a short hair and bringing that vibe into your job and bringing that silliness or whatever your skill is, I think that's what empowers me. That's what drives me. And that's what I want to pass on to the people that I work with, my colleagues, my students, my family. And so when I see that, I'm like, ooh, you succeeded. Like, that's what, oh, girl, good for you. Seeing people succeed is what drives me. That's what motivates me. It's what makes me go to sleep at night with my cafecito or whatever I have, you know, chocolate, or if I want to just, you know, have a good time, right? It's what fuels me. It's what gives me happiness. So I hope you guys get to live that as well, right? Live your truth so you can empower that with as well, because when you don't have that truth, you can't share your gifts to the world. So embrace your gifts, guys.
Thank you. I just love that both of you have such noble, sources of empowerment, and it's so accessible too. Like, we all know about inequities and inequalities, and we all have access to TED Talks and podcasts, so we can all learn from both of those things, I feel like. And what I can also see from both of you is you can apply it, like, no matter what your field is and no matter what your occupation is, you can still find that source of empowerment and have it carry you, motivate you, and guide you as you navigate, adulthood. And all of that fun stuff.